The panel today is very rightly called the invisible architecture, and it's essentially looking at everyone who sort of create culture, right? So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to be quick with this. So I'm welcoming the panelists now. I would request everyone to please come and take their seats. So the first person is Nydia Dias. She's the publisher of ELLE India. Ooh. And then we have Mona Singh. I don't need to introduce. Actor. Hello. The lovely Sumukhi Suresh, who's a writer, actor, and creator, who I think is at the media world right now, so she'll come in a bit. Then we have Sanjana Shah, who's the creative director of Tao Art Gallery. Aashish Hiramanek, who's the co-founder of Tandem Communications. Hello. Saaksha Bhatt, who's the co-founder of Saaksha and Kinney. The lovely Anisha Anand, who's the founder and director of Aurum Foods. And Rangita Pritish Nandy, producer and creative director. Along with, welcome, yes. Along with Meghna Ghai Puri, president of Whistling Woods International. Woohoo! So that's a big one. And yeah, we're getting ready for all of the important conversations. We'll keep it short and sweet, but I do hope that everyone will listen to what these amazing ladies have to say, because I'm sure we'll go away with a lot of notes, 100%. The panel, like I said, is called the invisible architecture. Much of what shapes culture is not always visible. What we see, what we consume, is often influenced by decisions made behind the scenes. This panel is an attempt to, bring together people who play different roles in that process across publishing, content, art, styling, PR, education, and business. So I think I'm going to start. I'm going to be quick, like I promised. I'm going to start with Nydia. That's home turf for me. So I'm just going to put her on the spot right there. Nydia, I really want to begin with you. And I think one of the things that I do want to tell people is that, we would appreciate I told Nydia also, give honest answers, because I feel like, we don't want the fluff, right? I think we've all been through that where people don't tell us the truth. And I feel like for everyone sitting in the audience, it's important to know the truth. So Nydia, what I want to ask you, as the publisher of ELLE India, ELLE Gourmet.
She doesn't know already.
Yeah, I know. I hear every day.
She knows everything.
But you all can hear now. What actually how do you decide what gets visibility in this market?
So I'm going to say something that maybe a lot of people perhaps won't. At the end of the day, I think the bottom line is commercial reality. Commercial reality is not first, it's not last. I think it's the final decision maker. It's the decider at the end of the day. Editorial integrity, editorial intent is very real, and I think it's such an important part of what we do every day,
right.
this. But the final decider and the final decision maker is always commercial reality. I think the question I would push back on is perhaps why commercial reality can't go hand in hand with editorial intent,
right,
and with reader interest. I think the three can easily coexist, and they have. I joined this place 3 days before lockdown. 3 days before lockdown, and then it just went into lockdown.
Silence.
So we were all in a very weird space, right? So I think a lot of magazines folded up in this time, in this window, and we didn't. I think that wasn't just because we did better stories, which I think we did, but I think it was mainly because I think we had a commercial strategy that basically allowed us to have editorial sustainability. And that worked for us long term. I mean, we don't really make any qualms about saying who we are. Do we sell covers? Yes, we do. Absolutely, we sell covers. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I think the main thing is we always say who we are. We're honest about it. I think the thing that sort of questions reader trust would be not selling a cover, but selling a cover and not saying it's sold. So I think that's, I think that's something ELLE has never done. We're very honest about who we are. And I think our readers keep coming back for that reason.
No, I think I completely agree, of course, for a lot of reasons. But I feel like, yeah, I think the honesty that is there, I think that is what sort of keeps you also apart from everyone else, because you're being honest. You're like, yeah, I'm doing this. It's fine. Yeah, that's true. No, but and that's interesting. I feel like that's an interesting lens to look at, that while creativity and we uphold all of those values, but you also have to think about business at the end of the day. And I think that that's something that a lot of us would agree with, that money does impact, a lot of decisions that we as women take, I think. I mean, since we're talking about entertainment, I'm jumping right to Mona. And Mona, tell me, as an actor, how much of your career has been, and not just right when you started, even now, how much of it has been shaped by your own choices, and how much of it has been because of the decisions that are made around you?
So, if I have to be 100% honest, the architecture of a career, is rarely a solo project.
Right.
I feel it's a constant tug of war between the blueprint that you draw and the weather conditions around you. So talking about my Jussie era, you see a lot of things, a lot of decisions were made around me, for me.
Right.
Because at that time I was also still processing what next to do. And industry was already trying to solve me. After Jussie, I had suddenly become the relatable girl next door,
right.
the moral compass, the heart. So all the choices that I was being offered was within those four walls. But later, the real shift happened when I started saying no to 90% of the shows that were being offered to me.
Wow, yeah.
And choosing to wait. So the architecture was choosing to wait for shows like Made in Heaven, for Lal Singh Chadda, for Bads of Bollywood, and now Kora.
Right.
So I think 40% is the industry. They provide the soil, the script, the platform, and 60% is me. I choose which seeds to plant, and most importantly, which ones to pull out.
Right. And I think that's a great percentage. We would be impressed by that. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
Before I move to you, Sanjana, I would like to welcome the lovely Sumukhi on stage. Yes, here you come. You all know who she is.
Hi, sorry.
Hello. No, it's fine.
See, I'm so on time.
We held her up at the media wall, so it's completely us. No. So then we're not saying anything, yeah. So I'm quickly going to you, Sanjana, then. In the art world, when you look at art, what really determines whether something is seen as culturally important? Is it the work, or is it the ecosystem around it? Is it the culture around it?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here today. It's been a wonderful day. I've heard all of the panels, and everyone has been really, really inspiring. So firstly, I don't think it's one or the other. It's not work or ecosystem. It's actually a synergy that needs to exist. There can be a strong work with a weak ecosystem, which means that work people will then value much later. So like Impressionism, which we all know about as a movement, was something that was shunned by critics at that point in time, but then became one of the most iconic things. Right. So it could be something strong in terms of the idea and the concept, but just the ecosystem doesn't support it, and vice versa. Like a strong, strong ecosystem, which kind of like has that potential and a strong work coming together. That is when the iconic, canonical sort of works can be created, like the Renaissance, for example. Right. So I think it's honestly a relationship that needs to exist, because an object can't exist without its interaction with the world and the audience in the art world. That's what we say. And when I talk about ecosystem, we mean museums, we mean galleries, we mean art critics. So that synergy definitely needs to be there. And honestly, there have been weak works which have been supported by strong ecosystems, by strong galleries.
Right.
And I try as a gallerist, because I identify as a curator primarily, but I try to get the artists to be very authentic to what they want to say. Because the minute a weak work comes about because they're trying to please the audience, they're trying to sell, and galleries do promote what's saleable. Some galleries do that, and that's fine. That makes sense from a commercial perspective. But there are weak works that have become big because it's been backed by the biggies. So
That
it
makes
really
sense,
kind of,
yeah.
it's
No, and that's interesting, to
complex
also,
relation.
I think, do you think that the audience can now tell the difference? Like, where do you think we are at as consumers?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Firstly, the audience is very globally aware today. So it's not, earlier I think India didn't really identify more than what is aesthetic. Kitta time laga ye banane ko. What is which is important, of course.
Right.
But the conceptual has now really come about in contemporary art today.
Right.
And audiences now go for art fairs internationally. Art fairs in India have also started having
They're
international
massive.
presence,
Right,
massively.
right.
So we are not, nobody can fool the audience anymore, according to me. And I think that that's great because I love talking to an educated audience that is interested in appreciating art and not just, iska matlab, what's the appreciation value,
Right. No, that's also one thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, and that's very interesting. And because we're talking about talking to an audience, then of course, a natural segue is to you, Aashish, because of the work that you do. You when you look at things from a PR lens, and how much of a public perception is built on the truth, and how much of it is carefully constructed storytelling? You can tell us the truth. Come on.
Since Elle has put me in this spot and I'm committed to the truth, I'm saying that today perception is an honest mix of both. It's
Right.
sometimes skewed in a 60-40 ratio, sometimes in a 90-10 ratio. What we do as an agency is that we try and be discerning whom you're representing, etc. But besides that, besides having the truth as a base, you would not have the credibility. So that has to be your basis. And earlier, we didn't have social media. Here, you get called out much quicker.
That's true.
So
That's true.
you wouldn't take such a risk, and it would be foolhardy to do so. But while the truth adds credibility, my thought was also over here while addressing this is that it also depends, before blaming the media for putting out perceptions, etc. It's also about what content you're consuming. And that is something
Right.
that each of us has to be discerning about as well.
No, 100%. It's so much that, that's what I try to explain to people, that I'm happy to do the stories that you want. If you're going to read it, I'll do it. It's that little push and pull, right?
To put it in a nutshell, just because we are having this conversation with all
Right.
these lovely women, it's like raw footage and curated.
Yeah. I
edited.
think that's perfect example, yeah. Yeah, to put it,
Yes,
yeah.
just to.
And then I think Sumukhi, perfect person to ask this question, since we're talking about perception and just being authentic on the internet in general, as someone who writes and also performs her own work very beautifully, do you feel that creators today can truly control their narratives, or are they still sort of performing to the platform?
I would say it's now become a mix of two. You cannot start with the thought of you wish to perform for a platform.
Right.
Like if you're going to wake up today, it's like, I'm going to be viral on Instagram.
Okay.
It's almost like karmic. Instagram that time only would be like, you'll get 1 view or like 5 views. Just the day you want to go viral, no one wants to see you. And I think that's, with that intent, if you start, you never can be present in any platform, especially with creators or comedians or any form which requires you to be as authentic as possible. Because I think they're borrowing from what you said, that people really are since consuming so much of art, not content.
Yeah.
They're consuming so much of that. They are aware when you're dishonest. They are aware. And unless that's your peg, you see a lot of these reels now which are very obviously corny and
Rage
very
bait.
obviously, "Arey, aap ye kya kar rahe ho?" It's very like that. But then that's the bit that they're going with, and that's fine, and that's
That's
smart
their,
of them.
yeah.
But I believe that the beginning always has to be as honest as possible. If you take stand-up, for example, you cannot curate what you do that quickly. You have to find as much as you can of your voice. And then you can start being smart. Like, I'll put out this will work, or this will help me sell tickets. So I would say beginning always has to be honest.
Authentic.
Yeah,
right.
and eventually if you play to it's okay, it's fine, once in a while. I also feel like we also get very but what about art? I mean, once in a while, I also want to pay rent for Bandra.
No, but that's true, right? And to have that like to just be honest. Like I think we started the panel with that, being honest. I think it's fine to accept that, sometimes you do it and you have to pay rent.
Yeah, but you see also, like for example, Jassi was one of the first real characters that someone saw.
That's true.
And you're like, oh, thank God. Otherwise, and it had nothing to do with the visuality of it. It had everything to do with who she was.
Who she was and how she could just be authentic.
Yeah, and now if you would have given her a makeover in third episode, I'd be like, hello, sis, come on. Yeah.
And I still remember, and I'm sure we all remember that makeover episode. We waited. We are like, kabhi aayega.
Exactly.
Kabhi dekhenge.
My board exams and then Jassi makeover. It was really important.
Everyone was like, oh, what does she look like? Yeah, that was. I mean, it was so amazing to create that sort of ecosystem back in the day without any Instagram pushing it, or I think that was really amazing. Yeah. So I'm gonna take it now to you, Saaksha. Like if as a founder, who's really building a fashion label, a fashion universe, even if I may call it that. How much do you feel you're responding to what consumers want, and how much are you deciding what they wear?
I think for us, it's never been a clear split. It's been an ever-evolving conversation. I think at the beginning, we were very clear with our visual language, color, print, bold.
Right.
But there was a lot of listening. What do women feel comfortable in? What do women reach for? We're all guilty of this, where we have so many clothes that we aspire to wear, but we reach for what we feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
So that was a big listening point, that what are they actually reaching for? What are the fabrics they are wanting to wear? What are they comfortable in? And what do they aspire to be in? So once we kind of saw from season to season that, okay, this is what women are gravitating to, while still standing strong with our point of view, I feel like at that point I felt a shift where we were comfortable enough to hold our own space.
Right.
And I think what we started the panel with, building trust with your consumer, that was a big part.
Right.
Once that we felt like we were gaining our customers' trust, they were coming back for more and more different silhouettes, same prints, or bolder colors, this type of embroidery. That definitely gave us the confidence to start, I would say, gentle nudging in a direction we wanted to take our client in. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting. Look at this panel today. We're basically 99.9% in monochrome. We're in black, whites,
That's
pages.
true.
Apart from my bestie there in yellow.
I can see that.
Yeah, give it up for the yellow. Yeah. So, it was a challenge because as women, we aspire to be so experimental. We want to be bold. We want to stand out, but in a really discreet way.
Right.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
And so to kind of hold our client's hand and kind of take them on this colorful journey, like I said, it was part listening, part gaining trust, part hand-holding. And now we're at a space, I think, where, when a client feels seen but surprised, that's when we've done our job.
That's a sweet spot. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And that reminds me of that, I don't know it, but like the viral Deve wears Prada, where she's like, do you know where this color came from? There's so much to fashion. There's so much to fashion that I think it's interesting. And it's nice that you actually use social listening, as a very active part of your brand journey, because I feel like we all do that. Even in the publishing business, I'm sure as a creator, as an actor, you have to do a lot of social listening.
Correct. And like she said, at the end of the day, it's a business. You have to make money. I mean, it would be so amazing to say, you know what, it doesn't matter if anyone buys our clothes, we're creating for ourselves and we're making this statement. But no, I mean, we have to feed our karigars. We have to make sure our master's happy, our PR team, everybody. First and foremost, it is a business. So I think listening was key, definitely initially.
Right.
And then, like she said, you build the trust, hold their hand, and take them on this bold journey.
That's a good sweet spot. Perfect. Thank you for that answer. And I'm going to go to you now, Anisha. This is a different sort of universe, that you come from. But again, I think it caters to pretty much what everyone caters to. As a founder, who's building in food and hospitality, how do you think your brands are shaping culture today? And again, are you responding to what people want? Or are you actively, like when you put together something, and we've just seen one very beautiful table that you've put together recently. Or are you actively influencing how they live and consume? So where is your sweet spot?
Okay. So, firstly, I've been a part of food and hospitality for over 3 decades.
Right.
And I've seen how the industry is actually transformed. It's unbelievable. We are not anymore just about moments and meals. It's more to do with the contribution that you're making to the global economic scene. We are seen as stellar pillars in terms of job opportunities, innovation, and just inclusive growth, basically. So as a founder, when I founded Aurum Foods, there were no planning, there was no blueprints, and there was no big dreams. It was just, let's see where this takes us. And about 3 years ago, I decided, when I was very well settled, as a caterer in prominent places. I was doing more than 500 weddings a season, which was a big deal. It is still a big deal.
Of course.
But about 3 years ago, I decided that I want to do a little bit more, where does this take me? And that's where my consciousness led me to leading with a purpose. And if I may say so, that change in mindset has brought me where I am today. And I decided to use my platform as a means of providing livelihood for lesser privileged women. Today I lead 7 farming teams which are only women oriented. They use AI, they use technology, and I'm also involved with the government very closely towards skilling. So we do take a lot of our service teams from the northeastern states that are a little less prominent in terms of, recognized by India in general. And today we have placed almost 8,000 young youth members from the Northeast who are doing so well, And you might have seen them. They are receptionists, they are at spas, they are at restaurants serving you. And it's so enriching. The entire, so as a trendsetter in the industry, when you are leading a workforce of 700 people and curating meals and menus, you don't just sit back and watch a culture shape. You step out there and form it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is what I try to do, yes.
No, and I think that's a brilliant answer, because I think we all will agree that, you can't just sit and watch it happen. You have to actively also
absolutely.
make it happen.
There comes a point where you have to look beyond your business plans and just see, like that.
Right.
Yes.
100%. No, that's a lovely
you.
answer. I think I'm going to go to you, Rangita, as a producer, creative director, from that lens, when you look at today, when you look at content today, what ultimately decides which stories get made? Like, how does it work? Take us inside your brain, I would say. Not in a creepy way.
What stories work?
What stories do get made? Like, how do you decide that?
No, I think like it's kind of a mixed bag of what everybody here has pretty much said, right? It's a creator's vision, a creator's intuition. It's what the audience wants to watch, because none of us want to create in isolation. There is really no point in me making a home video that my mom claps at. The whole point is to be on the stage for the world to see what you make. And I think a very commonly known fact is that creative people love applause. So if you're not going to get your work seen out there, right? It's pretty pointless to be doing it in isolation. So it's kind of a bit of a happy dance between what you want to create, what an audience wants to watch, what you as a creator realize that the audience's appetite is whetted for. A lot of foreplay into that, bringing that to life. And then there's, of course, that whole marketing mechanism that takes it out there. And that's where platforms and studios are important, because they are the machinery that gets your work seen. Otherwise, it's just going to be my mom clapping, which is sad, which is lovely, but it's also sad.
I know what you're saying. It's happy, but also like, hey,
so
what do I
it's
do?
a nice little happy dance between multiple factors.
Oh, that's nice. And that's an honest answer. Like, I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think coming to the sort of end of it, and, Meghna, I think that we've also, we've associated each other so much. And I do remember this recent interview that I did with you for the ELLE Collective. And, there was a question there, I remember, where you actually spoke about how at Whistling Woods, it's not just about creativity. You're like, I want to teach them about the Excel sheets and the budgets too. I think that's so interesting, right? Because I feel like when we look at education today, and training, I think this is an important thing to shape. So, coming back to my question, are you you're preparing these creators to fit into the industry, what are you actively teaching them? Like, what are the say 3 buckets that you need them to know?
Thanks. So I think Rangita is a great example of
Right.
a role model,
Huh.
for the ideal creative person, creative producer who looks at art as well as, changes with, changing times in terms of technology, and of course knows the market pulse and understands. I feel our business actually is really difficult, the entertainment world, because it's so difficult to really know what somebody would like. One moment they're rushing to watch Sayara, and the other moment they're there with Durandar. So it's really impossible to predict that. But I think in terms of training and education, for the longest time, and when we started Whistling was 20 years ago, even the industry felt that a film school or a creative institute cannot be connected with the industry. It cannot be commercial. Even when we started charging fees that we charge, which was really nominal for a film school from a world platform, but in terms of Indians, everyone felt that, they're charging fees. They're looking at commercial. But the idea was always that we were a school for the industry, by the industry, and we wanted our students to do well. We did not want our students to make home videos. We wanted them to understand. So I think it was an intentional choice, and it actually is an intentional choice we make every day to make sure our students find that balance. We want them to have their own voice. We want to create a safe space for them while they're in film school or fashion or music production, gaming, animation, whatever they do on campus. We want them to feel like they can fail because there are enough mentors around them to pick them up, lift them up.
Right.
But also for them to stay connected with what is going on in the industry. And I think as an educational institute in this dynamic industry, which is the creative arts, the most difficult thing and challenging thing is that we have to actually be ahead of the times, rather than just be,
with it. Yeah.
So I feel that is what we have been doing, and we keep trying to do that. And the best way to do that is to hold panels like that on campus, to have industry come in, talk to students, so that students learn from people from the industry.
Right. No, that's a lovely, I think, perspective. And I feel like with this conversation, I think what we really do take away is that कि ऐसे ही नहीं बन जाता है culture. You have to really actively, there are so many people, so many brains sort of shaping it and making it happen. And so, see guys, I told you I'll be quick. So thank you so much, everyone. And I feel like, this has been a great conversation. I hope you all have also had fun. It's always interesting, I think, for me to have conversations with women beyond their struggles. I don't take away from anyone's struggles, but I feel like women bring so much more to the table, and I don't want to keep talking about, this happened to her. I think it's so interesting to just hear ideas and get inspired every day. And each one of you, I think in your field, you're doing such great work. So let's continue, and then, I'll see you next year at the same panel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you once again quickly to our partners for making this happen. Thank you to my lovely team, ELLE, for putting this together year after year. And thank you to all my lovely guests and all my lovely panelists. Thank you.